Hello and welcome. I'm Michelle, and this is the Integrated Feminine Podcast. This channel is for women who have built successful lives, yet still feel a gap when it comes to love and relationships. Here we focus on creating authentic connection and natural attraction in a way that feels aligned, grounded, and sustainable, not forced or feels like hard work. Hello, I'm Michelle. Welcome to the Integrated Feminine, where high-achieving women are attracting their ideal partner without the compromise, through personal mastery and deep subconscious repatterning. Now, here's what I notice about a lot of successful single women out there, those entrepreneurs. If you're a corporate leader, you're successful in all areas of your life, but just one thing is not working for you, and that's love and relationships. And you might often be the one that are attracting those emotionally unavailable, those passive or feminine men. And it's not because something is wrong with you, it's actually quite the opposite. It's what it took to become successful. So today I'm going to show you exactly what is happening and, more importantly, how to shift this so you can start attracting those masculine men who know how to lead you, so you can let go and you can be in your feminine energy and allow yourself to be cared for and loved. Now, just a disclaimer, this is not dating advice. This is not feminine energy tips or surface mindset work. And this is not for you if you're looking for validation, and especially if you think it's the men out there that are the problem and that that's not got nothing to do with you. And especially if you want those dating tips hacks, this is not what this channel is about. Now, a lot of people think successful women are attracting the wrong men because you might be they say, oh, you're too intimidating, that you're too independent, that you're just too much, right? And that men are threatened by your success. But here's a truth that no one is talking about. You're not attracting feminine men because you're too successful. The truth is, your way of being is sending a message that you don't need a man to lead you. And feminine men are really resonating with that. When a man, especially a masculine man, feels like he's not needed, he's not going to show up. He's going to go somewhere where his energy is wanted. Now, think about it. A truly masculine man is actually wired to lead, to provide, to be a protector. That is how his biology is designed for. He needs to know that his time is not, and effort is not being wasted where he chooses to be in a relationship with. So he needs to feel like you need him in some way. That's why it seems like women who are not as accomplished or successful as you seem to get those men that you want. Because you might have spent the last 20 plus years building your empire, working your way to the top, making your own money, solving your own problems, protecting yourself, maybe raising kids on your own. You've done so much to accomplish on your own, and that is amazing. And when it comes to relationships, this falls apart for you because your energy is actually signaling that you can do this all on your own because you have had to do it all on your own. So guess what happens? The men who respond to your current energy in relationships are those that are okay with being secondary in the relationships. Those are the boys, not men. Those are the guys who want to be taken care of instead of the ones who want to step up and be the masculine one in the relationship. These guys might even be the ones that you especially like, the ones who need rescuing or saving, that project that makes you especially attracted to him, who needs help emotionally, who needs financial help, to help him build his career in some way or his business, just because you're the kind of woman who loves to help other people. So then these men who are mothered way too long their entire lives, and it's not their fault either, because they may not have had a masculine relationship. They may have grown up in a single parent household where mom did everything. So he naturally sees a strong woman as someone he's attracted to. They don't even know what a masculine role model looks like. So they don't even know how to model that for themselves unless they've been curious enough and have done their own personal development work and understood what the masculine energy means for a man, just like you're doing the work with the feminine energy for a woman. So these more unconscious men or more feminine men, they might be looking for a partner who can fulfill that masculine part so that they don't have to step up and grow for themselves. It may be seen as lazy, but maybe they're just not aware. They just don't realize this about themselves. Whereas the masculine men, they're going to feel like there's no space for them to be in a natural polarity as a masculine man in a relationship with you. So they're going to move on to find a woman who actually needs them. And it's not like they look for needy women, They just want to feel appreciated in their masculine energy, just like you want to be honored and surrender into your feminine energy. So this shift into surrendering into the feminine space isn't about being less successful. It's about actually shifting that energy that you're projecting to potential partners. So let me break this down exactly what's happening energetically. So probably for the past 20 years, you've been in that masculine energy because you had to in some way, that you had to build a business or be really good in your corporate job because you had to make money either for yourself or people around you, right? Maybe people depended on you. Maybe you've climbed that corporate ladder because you're ambitious. I'm very much ambitious myself, so I totally understand that. You've had to make those hard decisions. You've had to solve all those problems. You've had to protect yourself, and you didn't have time to be soft or explore your feminine energy or be vulnerable, because being vulnerable actually felt like a weakness and meant that you couldn't protect and you couldn't achieve what you had to do in order to survive. Maybe even raise children alone. And that's absolutely incredible, having to be that mother or father role model to your children. This is a situation we're starting to find ourselves in more and more as marriages break down, a lot of couples ending in divorce. So a lot of children are actually growing up with single parent households, not being able to see this masculine and feminine polarity in their own families, not being able to grow up with that themselves. So how can you know what that looks like when you enter relationships for yourself as an adult? So masculine energy, when you think of it this way, is actually very external focused, just like the masculine biology. These are always things that get the job done. They're always action oriented, they're problem solving, they're independent, they're protective of yourself, strategic, they're in control. You're always controlling everything that happens so it turns out the way you want it to. So that energy, it's gotten you everything you've achieved so far, and that is amazing. Your lifestyle, the self-sufficiency that you have, your financial and physical security. Now, here's the problem. When you're in that masculine energy 24/7, you're projecting to the entire world, and especially to men, that you don't need anything or want anything from anyone else. You don't want someone else's leadership. You don't want someone else's protection because you've done all that for yourself and you didn't ask for any of those things. And masculine men, their entire identity is actually built around being needed in those particular ways. Now, this is the biological truth. Men are hardwired to serve and protect the women that they choose. I've actually interviewed many men about what is it that they actually look for in a woman, and the general consensus is that they always choose a partner that they can be useful to, that they can provide for, and be inspired to be their best version of themselves. And the masculine, more ambitious ones will always want to fulfill their purpose, be really driven and ambitious, not just to protect and serve their families, but also to fulfill their own life purpose. So what keeps happening then? Those men who stick around a more masculine female are going to be more comfortable not leading and let you do everything in the relationship. So let's say these feminine men are more passive, they're emotionally available, but not actually in a positive way. They might also be needy and needing your validation. They're always comfortable letting you take the lead. So have you ever felt like you're always the one organizing the relationship? You're always initiating everything. And if you actually don't initiate, nothing happens. That's what it's like with a more feminine guy. He's going to unconsciously watch you to see if you take the leadership and then let you keep doing it in your relationships. He's probably somebody who was okay being looked after, even as a grown young adult, and didn't feel that desire to do that for themselves beyond their own survival and not actually stepping up. Maybe that's a thing, that he may not have grown up with a masculine role model in his life and never even knew that's something that he actually had to do in his own life and with his own relationships going forwards. Now, these kind of guys want things to be easy for them all the time. They don't want to make any effort beyond the initial first months before they get you into that relationship. And the thing is, they're not going to change. They're not going to turn into that man that you want to mold him into, because then you're actually doing more work to help change him rather than him wanting to change for himself. Now, these aren't bad guys. They're just not actually the men that you want, or that anyone wants for that matter, unless you're narcissistic and controlling yourself. Meanwhile, those masculine men that you're attracted to, They feel your energy. They sense that you don't need them. And then they either don't approach you in the first place when they see you as a friend. So they immediately friend zoned you, even though they find you attractive, or that you're just one of the guys because you're as successful as them, or you work in an environment where there's a lot of highly successful men and you're competing in that industry as well. They might approach you, but then pull away when they realize that you're looking for them to lead, or that you won't surrender, that you're, I won't say too argumentative, but that you're not accepting of their masculine energy and allowing for them to care for you in some way. They might even stay around, but they might cheat and eventually become emotionally unavailable because they don't feel needed by you and don't want to put that emotional investment into a relationship with you. Now, here's where it gets real, and I say this with so much love. You've been using your success as protection mechanism. You might even know this on a conscious level. And maybe I've said this and it's hit a nerve. You've been using your independence as an armor because maybe somewhere along the way, in your early 20s, your 30s, you said to yourself that if you could just be more successful enough, you can look after yourself, be independent, you're not going to need a man and you're not going to get hurt. So if you don't need a man, he can't ever leave you or reject you. Then you would have to be vulnerable and get hurt and have your heart broken. And that you didn't need to be open so that no one could take advantage of you and be controlled because there's going to be strings attached. So that strategy worked for you. It protected you and it actually got you to where you are today. And that strength now has become a weakness in the area of love. So as I always say, every solution to a problem creates a new problem. Just as overproduction of food has now completely hurt our environment and has made us obese with the wrong kind of foods, now this strength that was so powerful at one point has now become a weakness and is becoming unserving for us. Now, you've probably become so good at protecting and being self-sufficient that you've forgotten how to trust someone else who is the right person to let into your heart. And you've been so used to leading your own life that you've forgotten how to follow. And I used to recommend Latin dancing for the strong women out there. I remember when I was single and I first came back to partner dancing, a friend introduced me, and being a strong woman, I needed to see the steps. And one partner said to me, just follow me. And at first it made me indignant, but I realized that Latin dancing is a very beautiful way to experience masculine, feminine polarity, leadership, and following in a very balanced way that doesn't mean you're weak. It just means you're surrendering to the process of masculine, feminine polarity. So here's the 3 steps on how to shift this. Firstly, recognize that this is a pattern. All the greatest minds in the world will recognize patterns, and this is the way that you can notice when something is happening repeatedly. This is actually a subconscious program that needs to get changed. So this pattern that you now can see is about acknowledging that you have been in your masculine energy for so long that it's become your default. Now, this isn't about judgment. This is just about awareness, and we can be completely detached and observing and non-judgmental of this. So if you look at your life right now, where are you leading and where are you controlling? Where are you protecting yourself? When you can notice that without shame, without guilt, self-judgment is a huge one. Let go of all that mind chatter that is telling you that you've done the wrong thing and criticizing yourself. Just remember that this pattern was really useful and helped you at one time, but now it's just time to upgrade, and there's nothing wrong with that. The next step is actually to give yourself permission to be vulnerable and open. Here's what I normally tell my clients. Being vulnerable is not the same as being weak. And I used to think that this was the same thing, that you could be taken advantage of. And when you were taken advantage of, then people could control you or attack you emotionally, mentally. So I learned to deflect and never accept help from anyone. I would be like, no, I can do it myself. And because I feared owing somebody or being exposed. Now, a woman can need a man and be independent. And this looks like being able to support yourself, be self-sufficient financially and emotionally, so you can actually let go of any relationships that don't serve you any longer. You actually have more freedom because you are self-sufficient and not tied to anyone financially. Like I know a lot of the previous generation of women were tied to their husbands in that way. When you know that anytime you can walk away, but you choose to stay, that is super, super powerful. And that's where we want to be in a relationship. Now, some of the most magnetic women I know are able to go from being masculine and feminine at the right time in the right situation. And that is really an amazing skill that you can learn. They're able to be strategic and soft, but they're also independent and open. You can be strong and you can also be vulnerable. And you can do it in a way that's actually coming from an integrated feminine energy where you're grounded, you have a strong belief in yourself, and that your self-worth is actually coming from a space of being authentically aligned to yourself, not from the things that you do or the achievements that you have, making you think that your value is placed on what you do. So give yourself permission to surrender that control, to be vulnerable. When you can admit that you would like help, even though you could do it yourself, this is that integrated feminine. The next step is actually to refine your focus. Now, this is so important, and it's not about lowering your standards, it's just shifting them in the right direction. So right now, maybe your standards are that he has to be more successful than you, make the same amount of money or more, that he has to be as independent as you and not need anything from you, that he has to be as emotionally strong and mentally aware and conscious as you are. But here's the thing, truly masculine men, they don't need to be successful in the same way as you. He needs to be a leader in his own right. Same, but different, right? He might have a completely different job that you may not value as highly, and he might make less money than you. Now, shifting the way you evaluate him, why not look for instead his vision and direction? This is going to tell you something majorly about whether he has that capacity to lead or not. If he has no direction in his life, he might be waiting for you to make that direction. But it's much more powerful when accomplished women like you come together with someone who has a vision. You want to have similar goals and visions for your life that you can share. When I was single, I saw a video once about how every woman wants to be taken on a journey, and masculine men already have that drive, that ambition, that purpose, and is already on his journey and simply looking for his soulmate to come on his journey and inspire him to do greater and more amazing things. Now, look at his ability to make decisions. This is a very masculine trait, and this is probably something you've become really good at because you've had to. This is going to really show you if he's developed himself in this way. More feminine men are going to ask you to make that final decision. They're going to always ask you to make decisions in everything. A masculine man might consult you and make the decision that serves both of you. Now, look for emotional maturity. Does he nitpick on silly, immature things or find it really hard to let go of things? Or does he move on quickly? Does he have the ability to regulate his own emotions and manage himself? Or does he constantly vent and become negative? Does he have the capacity to lead and protect? Or is he already doing this for the other women in his life, his friends, his mother, other females in his life? Does this feel like a natural part of his character, or is it going to be a really big stretch for him? Integrity is a huge one. Does he keep his word, or does he allow himself to get distracted and lost and hide and not take responsibility for those things that he said he's going to do? Now, these are the things that matter the most, not so much his income, his job, or what activities he likes to do in his free time, right? Especially not whether his bank account matches yours or his career is as successful as yours. So here's the biggest takeaway that I want you to get from this. The reason why you're attracting more feminine men isn't because there's something wrong with you or there's something wrong with all the men out there. It's because your energy is signaling that you don't need that masculine man in your life. So the shift isn't about changing who you are. It's about shifting the energy that you're projecting into the world. Now, if you're ready to make this shift, to start attracting that masculine man that you really deserve, I want to invite you to have a conversation with me. I work with high-achieving women in their 40s who are done with the settling. This is a relationship clarity call. You're going to walk away with those next steps forward that's going to move you towards love. This is your first steps to start working with me. If this resonates with you, I'll put a link in the description below and you can find out a bit more information on that link. You can also get the free Love Blind Spot Audit, which is going to help you identify which of your success patterns is being dominating or actually sabotaging your love life and what to do to actually shift that. That link is also in the description below. I also take women on a 6-month private container to do much deeper work where we're going to explore those subconscious patterns that have been set up since your childhood, to reprogram a lot of those beliefs and shift from that identity of having to prove, having to serve, having to do it all, from being that authentic version of you
And that's the deeper transformative work that we do one-on-one. That is shifting your identity at the subconscious level. If you feel called to that level of transformation, you can also apply to work with me. I'll also put a link in the description below. That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope something here sparks a real shift in the way you see things. That is my intention with this content, and that you carry this insight with you from here onwards into your life. If you resonate with this episode, please like and subscribe or forward this to any of your amazing women friends who might need to hear this right now. So go ahead, click on the links below that resonate, and I look forward to working with you to attract the love without the compromise. See you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to The Integrated Feminine. If this conversation gave you clarity, stay with me by subscribing. And if you're ready for deeper support, you'll find more at www.michellechungcoach.com. Until next time.